Again, we have some more capeless superheroes in the building right here on the plaza. Our next guests are a group of doctors who are dedicated to making a whole difference in Wilmington right now. We're going to talk about the teacher shortage, teacher retention, and
celebrating our educators.
And celebrating our
That's
educators.
Amen.
Doctors, thank you so much for coming. And let's start from left to right, or right to left. Or
Introduce yourself, please.
Sure thing. I'm T.J Vari, Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Schools in the Appoquinimink School District.
Nice.
Okay.
And I'm Principal L, Principal of Thomas Edison Charter School, in Wilmington, 2-time national chess champions. And so we're honored to be here.
You see how you did that?
Two.
He reminds us of that often. Joseph Jones, Superintendent, Newcastle County VOTEC. Howard High is one of our schools, just a couple blocks down the road.
Oh, sweet, sweet. Well, welcome again to the plaza, gentlemen. Where do you want to jump in, Vincenza?
Oh, well, I would love to talk about, first off, I know that we're here to talk about the teacher shortage, but let's start with the positive of celebrating our educators.
Yeah.
And I know that this hits home for all three of you. Right. And I'm sure there are things that we want to mention, but let's start with you, Dr. Vari, about celebrating our educators. Tell us a little bit about why we should.
We have to celebrate our educators. We have to lift, right? Like when you think about national news and what people think about what's happening in schools, you see horror stories,
right?
And it's just not true.
Right.
There's so many awesome things that are happening in schools all across the country, and especially in Delaware, in our great state. And we just have to celebrate those things, and we have to tell that story more often to build the reputation that we deserve versus the one that we get when we don't tell our story.
How do we tell that story, Doc?
Well, first we got to change the dialogue. We got to highlight the things that are happening in schools, like the chess, right? Whatever programs we have, we need to get those things out there. Get out in front of the bad news, right? So that there's good news all the time versus what you typically hear.
Right. You see that a lot. You see that, like, teachers they're right up there with, in my book, next to EMTs, police officers, firemen. You know what I mean? And I do think, and I'm with you guys 100%, we have to do more to celebrate our teachers by, one, increasing their pay, because they go into the war zone. I don't understand why it's so hard that these teachers really can't get the kudos that they deserve.
Well, that's why we're here having the conversation.
Okay, well,
and I think I do believe that if that's something that is important, we need to continue to talk about it.
Yeah.
We need to continue to highlight it and bring attention to it.
Yeah.
What do they say? The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah.
So we have to continue to have these conversations, and while we're doing that, we're also celebrating them and uplifting them, because I do feel that it truly does take a unique individual to become a teacher and remain a teacher for years, because it takes so much other than just creativity and intelligence, but also patience, compassion, right? There's so many elements that come into to being a teacher. So I think that's so important.
I want to know the why. I'm fascinated with the why, like why you do it. My mother is a retired teacher that used to teach at Stubbs Elementary, and when I asked her, like, how do you go to work every day? Why do you? And she was like, I go to work every day because being raised in West Virginia, Mountain Number 9, they laughed at her brother for having a stuttering problem, and they called him dumb. And my mom, when she's like, God, if you can make some type of way for me to go to college, I'll make sure I'll teach. So these kids that don't have will never be considered dumb again. What is your why? I want to go down the line, because that's how we celebrate our teachers, because they all have a why.
Yes.
What's your why?
I'd say at this point in my career, definitely opportunity. I want to have kids have opportunities that many students may never know about. And so that drives me. I know that drives a lot of educators. They come into the profession because they want to make a difference. But as you move up from a teacher to an administrator, what I've learned now is you can open doors. And you open doors for people who can do incredible things. And I know those teachers every day in and out of the classroom, they just want to make a difference in the lives of so many children, just like you just stated. So I would say for myself, opportunity at this point.
Yeah, and I want to first start off by saying that we can't celebrate educators unless you have us on the show. So the fact that you're talking about this says a lot about you, and we need more media to make sure that we're having this powerful conversation. So I want to thank you for having us. And my why is basic, and I'm in my 35th year. So I wake up every morning with determination and go to bed every night with satisfaction because your mom did what she did as a teacher. Somebody did it for us. And that's my why. My mom raised 8 kids, 6 boys, single mom. Teachers took care of us. You know how it was. You seem like you were raised old school, right?
Old school.
So we that's why we do what we do. That's why we wrote these books that we wrote. That's why we're really talking about this impactful and powerful subject of how are we building thriving cultures, but also schools where teachers are knocking the door down to get in instead of knocking the door down to get out.
There you go.
So that's my why, because somebody did it for me, and I want somebody to look at me and say, because of you, I do what I do.
There you go.
Right.
There
And
you go.
I'm curious, how did the 3 of you come together?
Because y'all like
I see that. I feel
these brothers some cakes.
but I feel their ambition, their passion, the energy that you bring to the table, and here, especially here on set, like you're on a mission.
Yeah.
So tell us how
Like
the
the
3
Blues
of you.
Brothers.
Well, he's the maestro. He's the one that brought us all together,
Okay.
so I'm going to let him tell you.
No,
Okay.
come on, man. You tell that story better than anybody else. No, I met him in a doctoral class that I was teaching. He really wanted to finish his dissertation. And Joe and I worked together at the Schoolhouse 302, longtime educators. Joe actually taught my brother in school.
Nice.
And so just the passion that the 3 of us have together, and we decided to write a book. Our first book was Passionate Leadership because of that passion and what we wanted to share. And we've been speaking and talking to each other every day about how we can improve schools.
And wrote 2 more books after that.
Wow.
And also, he's humble. I had been struggling for 10 years to get through this dissertation.
Right.
He walked up to me in class and said, I'm going to make sure you finish it. And these 2 guys said, listen, you can't edit a blank page. And I know there are many people out in your audience right now who are probably struggling and trying to write a book, write a diary, do something.
Yeah.
You got to put that pen to paper
Right.
and believe in yourself. And that's what they did for me. And we're the 3 doctors now
Right.
out really talking about celebrating and elevating and lifting our teachers and educators through positivity.
I think we need I need a teacher show on DETV.
Hey!
We built
the 3 of you together.
Our own version of Sesame Street. It's called DETV Kids here on DETV. But I would love to talk to you and see how we can help. Because we understand that right now, like there's a couple things that's plaguing, educators right now, such as the shortage and so on. Can you talk to us briefly about like how that is affecting Delaware and the kids today that are here?
Yeah, definitely. It's been going on for years, though. Since probably the mid-1970s, less and less people becoming, teachers in this incredible profession. The pandemic just kind of put everything in the forefront, and now less and less. Not only that, there's really a time within the first 5 years where teachers are very vulnerable. So that's where we start with the celebration. How do you support them? How do you really let them know they're not alone in this profession? So that's where we start. And then even right now, we are struggling to fill vacancies, no doubt. And not just Delaware. And I think we have to make that clear. Delaware is, where we work, reside, and what we're really passionate about. But this is a national issue.
Right.
And I think really starting like we did today about celebrating teachers, what the profession does, how this is a profession that builds every other profession.
Right.
That's how we really start turning the tide. And I think this is where also you mentioned salary. The mean salary for starting teachers is roughly $43,000. We have to look at that. Yeah. And I will say though, throughout the state, there's been a lot of effort. The Delaware Educator Effectiveness Work Group was started by Department of Ed with the governor. And then also legislators passed this year House Bill 430, which is a grow your own program. Right. So there's a lot of support right now.
Good.
We just got to keep the heat dialed up so everybody keeps talking about this.
Just keep it going.
Maintain momentum.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. And you're right. And I'm just glad to hear that you mentioned that and shared with our viewers about everything that has already happened and continuing to happen. So that's nice to hear that there is support within the state, especially from our governor and other educators and influential leaders throughout the state. So that's nice to hear that.
Absolutely.
Our state secretary, very supportive. Our major universities here in the state, very supportive. But it goes back to what you talked about, sir. When folks go shopping, food shopping, they don't want to know that you're a teacher.
Right.
You got to pay that bill.
Right.
We got to find a way to pay and support our teachers. They're, like you say, they're saving Private Ryan every day. And we lost 600,000 teachers since January 20 before the pandemic. Net loss. Because we lose teachers every year. Retirement, babies, that kind of thing. But we're hemorrhaging, we're bleeding, and we got to stop. This is why we wrote Retention for a Change, why we wrote this book. We got to change what we're doing to retain these teachers. And it starts again with the media, like you guys saying, hey, come on the show, talk about what you're doing, and let's talk about these amazing things that great teachers are doing. He has a great Grow Your Own program in his schools. He has a great Grow Your Own program in his schools, where you actually have programs where we got to talk to teenagers and let them know you need to be a teacher. We can't wait until they get out.
Can't wait until they get to high school, yeah, college, and like
exactly.
Grow Your Own programs. What's that? I don't know what that is. What is that?
Well, you start to entice kids about, a K-12 academy, and then they go into like kind of a program. By the time they get into 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, they take courses that are related to education. It grows their passion for wanting to be in the profession, and hopefully that also makes a pipeline into institutions of higher ed and then back to it.
Get them young.
Yeah, so much competition out there. Everybody want to be LeBron James, they want to be a rapper. Or and then you have so many careers, and well, I'm gonna tell you what important thing though in these Grow Your Owns though is we have to make sure that the educators that are working in the program aren't telling kids not to become teachers. We've got to make sure although we know, we know this is a struggling. This work is not for the weak, right? It's not for the weary, as your mom showed you, right? But we've got to make sure that we're letting them know that we won't survive if they don't take up this noble profession. Like you say, these are frontline workers, these educators, and his programs, like your program, you're already geared up, right?
So we just started one 2 years ago at Howard, which is really taken off. And the important part also is we struck partnerships with the higher ed. So Del State just started. I know you have the alumni coming on just after. They've really been pushing hard to start an ed program. Del Tech started a K-8 program. So these other institutions are really growing as well. The idea is to let students follow their passion. They're interested in teaching. It's convincing them that, no, this is a great profession. My wife's a first grade teacher. She's moving to fourth grade special ed this year. The stories that she has, the changes she's made in students' lives, you don't get that anywhere else. And that's what we have to remind people, that this is what this profession's about. And there are tough days, there's no doubt about it. But the good will always eclipse the bad.
Rewarding days outweigh the tough days.
100%.
Okay.
All right. And we talk about those stories in our books too, positive stories about teachers.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what else in the book talks about the retention? Like, what other ideas do you have about for teachers and retention?
Well, the good news is that there are strategies that teachers and administrators, school leaders can use to help build a better culture in our schools. We need to help them learn those strategies, like taking inventory of your entire staff and then thinking about them in terms of their development and growth, the learning needs that they have, the things that they want to do. Workforce development is one of the highest things across all professions in terms of why people leave. So we need to think about how do we help people grow, but also maybe reward them through pay and other experiences as they do that.
Gotcha.
I can see that this is something that we have to have.
Again, we got to make this regular,
and to continue this conversation, because I do feel it is necessary and it's truly important. I have the privilege and honor to know Dr. L for a long time.
Who doesn't know Dr. L?
But I remember when we called him Principal L for a long time, and then the moment you were so happy, the moment where you said, now I'm officially Dr. L. And it was truly rewarding, wasn't it, to achieve that? And that's something that I always share with everyone, that, if you are very fortunate and lucky enough to be in the presence of Dr. L, you are definitely touched by everything that he continues to do.
Well, I was blessed to come in and eat that good food at the restaurant.
Thank you. He's right here, being a bistro. Thank you, Doctor. Well, gentlemen, I know we're out of time, but I think that we definitely need to have you back on the show to continue this conversation, not only just to talk about the shortage of educators, but celebrating our educators. And we appreciate everything you're doing, and lots of luck, and continue to get the message out there. And if there's anything else you need from us,
you got it.
That's right. Call us.
You got
Call this
it.
guy right here.
I'm really thinking of an educator show, like
I'm
a teacher show.
in?
I got ideas.
Okay, so we need to grab lunch. We need to grab lunch and go forward because, like, we're building that whole education block. Again, we're starting with DETV Kids and our show called Homeschool and Storytellers. So I would definitely love to talk to you, see how we can, support teachers and then support the kids too at the same time.
And support those leaders. We have some amazing district leaders, superintendents, principals, assistant principals, the state level, our secretary. So we need to support teachers, but we need to support the people who are supporting teachers.
I'm in. All right, so if you could just turn to the camera real quick. Got 30 seconds. Tell them about the book. Tell them where they can get it. All that good stuff. Go.
Listen, you pick up Retention for a Change. Visit our website. These guys will tell you about their schoolhouse, principal.com. You can follow me. What about you guys?
Schoolhouse302.com. We wanted 302 to be a part of our website. Pick up the books. We're real excited. You two asked early on about what makes this great. Iron sharpens iron. We love this relationship with the three of us and really contributing to Delaware Educator and nationally as well.
Yep.
It's great, thanks. Just the schoolhouse302.com, the schoolhouse302.com, free leadership content every week.
All right, we'll be right back. Thank you so much for coming, gentlemen. What's up, everyone? It's your main man, Big Ob, the talk of the town, Mr. DETVCH.com, and I'm here with my wonderful and amazing co-host,
Vincenza.
We just stopped by to tell you to be sure, if you want any information on what's going on in Wilmington and to meet some dynamic people doing some amazing and great things, be sure to watch us live on Good Morning Wilmington on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 p.m.
Oh, Ivan, 10 a.m.
Which he said, 10 a.m.
Listen to me. That's why he has me here. But yes, tune in live, 10 a.m. Monday and Wednesday on Good Morning Wilmington.
DETVCH.com.